Torquay in the English Riviera has seen many changes over the years. It was established as a small Saxon hamlet called Torre, and in 1196 a community of monks founded Torre Abbey. Torquay's main industry was fishing and agriculture, and the monks established a fishing quay, hence the name Torquay. In 1662, Sir George Cary bought Torre Abbey and the surrounding lands, and successive generations of the Carys lived there. The family became influential and owned many buildings in Torquay, including the original Torbay Hospital, the Lyceum Theatre, and the Old Town Hall. In 1914, the First World War started, and this world event had a major influence on the Cary family and Torre Abbey.
Often said that at the end of the First World War, many of England's landowning families were forced to sell up their estates. Sons and heirs had been killed in the Great War, and as death duty taxes were doubled in 1919, families were compelled to sell the estate and move away to smaller premises. In fact, only a few landowners in Devon sold up. Things were different for the Cary family, however. Lieutenant Lancelot Cary was killed in 1916 in the Battle of the Somme, only a few weeks after he had inherited the estate, so his successor, Captain Lionel Coxon Cary, had to pay double death duties.
At the end of the war, the Carys tried to live in Torre Abbey, but they had little money for heating and repairs, and only a few pieces of furniture, as much had been sold to help pay the death duties. The Carys were only able to occupy a few rooms. Here is a photograph of Mrs. Edith Cary with her daughters, Margaret and Winifred, in one of those rooms. In the early 1920s, the family decided to leave Torquay entirely and arranged to lease the abbey to a wealthy retired shipowner, William Anning. Anning had made enough money from his business not to be deterred by the upkeep of the building.
But though Lionel and Edith Coxon Cary no longer lived in Torquay but in a London flat, the Cary Estate remained important to life in Torquay, and the Cary Archive records the work that the estate office did to manage the rest of the estate on behalf of the Carys. The Devon Record Office acquired the majority of the surviving papers of the Cary family in the 1980s. In 2022 to 2023 came the opportunity to comprehensively catalogue the archive. The Devon Heritage Centre also acquired a further collection relating to the management of the family's estates, which had been in storage in Paynton for many years.
The Cary collection has a link to the social history of Torquay in the 1920s. So the Cary daybooks are effectively journals of what's happening in the estate on any particular day. They're written by the estate solicitors or steward, so we can see various different estate activities, correspondence with the local council and other bodies, and in particular we can see the negotiations between the Carys, who are hoping to rent out Torre Abbey, and the Anning family, who are hoping to act as the tenants, and the intricacies and controversies of the rent agreements that are being drawn up at that time. Also from the Cary Estate collection we have these letter books, so tens of thousands of letters spanning across, inclusive of the 1920s. We can see various letters here about rents and collecting rents from tenants. We also hold the records here at the Devon Heritage Centre of the Torbay Council. These include registers of various activities or trades in the area. So we'd have some registers of servants, and we also have registers of theatres operating in Torquay during the 1920s. The collection also includes as well meteorological or weather-related registers, so it gives you a breakdown of the weather on a particular day, the temperatures, and then a summary each month of their summing up of what the weather was like in any particular given month of the year. Welcome to the Conservation Studio, where staff and volunteers do various work including cleaning, packaging, and repair work on documents and archives. Here we have a Cary Estate letterbook from the 1920s. And an item like this, when it first came into us, might be quite dirty, having been kept perhaps in an attic or a basement, and will therefore require cleaning. So we can do that with a small brush, and we've got a vacuum table to sort of clear away surface dirt. And then ultimately we might create a kind of waistcoat package for the item as well, which A, protects the item from kind of handling damage, but also allows us to clearly see the reference number of the document on the shelves.
My name is Brian Carpenter. I'm one of the archivists here at the Devon Heritage Centre in Exeter. The Heritage Centre is the headquarters of the Devon Archives and Local Studies Service, and we really function as a repository of the history of the county of Devon. So we have documents, maps, photographs, prints, drawings, printed books, all relating to the entire history of the wonderful county of Devon. We have documents here relating to all the parts of Torbay, so that's Torquay, Paynton and Brixham. And 4 times a year in March, June, September and December, I come to Torre Abbey personally, and I can bring documents down for people to use in the course of their research in Torquay itself. So that's a real advantage for people who live in Torbay, because they don't have to travel to Exeter. They don't need to make a specific appointment to come here to look at the records. They can look at them in the area where they live and the area where the records were created and they relate to. So that's a real advantage to people who want to do research in the Torbay area. If you want to do research into any aspect of the history of the county, whether it be Torbay or anywhere else, if you want to come to the Heritage Centre in Exeter or go to one of the sessions in Torquay, you can look up references to documents that might be useful for you on the online catalogue of the archive service, which can be found through the website of the South West Heritage Trust, which is the heritage body that we're part of, and that is at www.swheritage.org.uk. And also, if you can't come to either Torre Abbey or to the Heritage Centre here in Exeter, we have a research service which can do research for you using the documents here, and details of that are on our website as well.
In many ways, the structure of the workforce in Torquay remained just as it had been before the war. It was a place of retirement, with large numbers of elderly residents, mostly women, and a place for holidaymakers. The census takers in 1921 calculated that about 15% of those counted in Torquay were holidaymakers, not residents, even though the census was taken in June, which was not a school holiday month. Although the opportunities of the war had opened up a range of new jobs to women, few such opportunities came the way of women in Torquay. The 1921 census shows that of the 7,600 women in employment, there were over 4,600 women employed in what were classified as personal services, with 3,000 in the category of indoor domestic servants living in their employer's accommodation.
Although the family had left Torquay, some of the influence of the Cary Estate remained, as it still owned property all over the town. Edith Berry was landlady in a set of furnished apartments on Avenue Road, which was on Cary land. Her granddaughter remembered how she had to go regularly to the estate office to pay her ground rent, and that continued for many years. The solicitor who worked for the Cary Estate had long been employed by the family, and could not resist reproving the town council when they failed to keep the verges of the land they had purchased from the Carys in the well-mown state he felt it should be. The sale of estate lands continued, however. In 1927, the town council bought more land at Windmill Hill to develop a new council housing estate. In 1929, Captain Lionel Cary died. His son and heir, Commander Henry Cary, reviewed his inheritance and the need to pay death duties. He decided that the only thing to do was to sell Torre Abbey, and in 1930 he sold it to Torquay Council.
And how do we remember the Cary family in 2025? There is a permanent exhibition about the history of the Cary family from 1662 to the early 1920s at Torre Abbey. If you look at a map of Torquay, many place names have Cary included. For example, Cary Parade, Cary Castle Drive, Cary Park, Cary Avenue. For further research, visit Torre Abbey, Torquay Museum and the Devon Heritage Centre.